my name is Amol Nirgudkar. I'm the CEO of Patient Prism. I'm delighted to welcome Judy Kay Mausolf in our studios, and what a treat this is going to be to discuss culture and happiness and building teams. I mean, Judy Kay has been doing this for the last 12 years and has helped hundreds of dental practices and dentists and team members become better leaders and communicate more effectively and how to work together better. And we've known this, right, in business, that culture eats strategy for breakfast, really. And we know that, right? We know companies with great culture, organizations with great culture, will perform higher on all financial metrics too. But the challenge is, where do you start with this, right? Can you buy culture? How do you start with leadership? How do you build leaders? How do I tell my practices, our practices, to start the conversation about leadership and culture?
Well, Amal, I would love to say, well, first of all, thank you for inviting me to be here. I'm thrilled to be here. I'd love to say that culture comes in a box, that I could just take a box in and say, here, doctor, here's your culture, go ahead, go with that, and you open it up and all the little things you need and it come out, right? Sure. It really does start with leadership. Culture involves so much, but it really begins with leadership. And the leadership part is really scary for a lot of doctors. They go to school to be dentists, and it's not until they've been in the business for a couple of years that they start to realize, you know what, I'm a provider, and I also have to run a business too. Sure. And oftentimes, the most vocal, the most strong personality in the practice becomes the person who runs the practice. So it could be a hygienist or an assistant or the office manager. And in a very short while, the practice becomes what that person wants versus what the doctor wants. So when I start working with teams to help them create the culture they desire, I start with the doctor in defining what's important to them and really helping them be clear about leadership, first of all. So many doctors think that leadership is telling people what to do or having to be mean or direct or all these things, and it's really not. So I start out with teaching them what I refer to as CLEAR leadership. Okay. I'm an acronym addict, so I might as well admit that right now, because you're probably going to hear a few today. Okay. You know, number one, the C in CLEAR stands for really creating core values. I'm not a firm believer of the mission or vision statement because it becomes very flowery, very ending usually in kumbaya, we save the world, right? And dentists, when they start putting it together, it's like we do this and we do this and we do this, and it's so much it's overwhelming. So I asked dentists to come up with their 4 core value words in order of priority. Okay. What do they want their culture to be based on? And then really to be consistent with their message, with the service they deliver, with the team they hire, with how they work, how they lead, all of that. The L is about leading by example, living by example. If you want a culture a certain way, you can't have a secondary standard for you as a leader and have your team expect them to be the other way. They're going to follow your lead. That's the number one leadership principle there is. So it's really about being clear about attitude and behavior and communication and what you expect, and really appreciation and celebration in the practice. So that's the L in CLEAR. Okay. The E is for the empowerment. I think it's so important. You know, oftentimes when doctors are trying to lead, they're thinking they have to come up with all the answers. And truthfully, the team wants to be involved in the decision-making process, or at least to give feedback. They want that their opinion is heard and understood. So the empowerment is training, communication, team meetings to discuss things, and then actually going ahead and discussing how you'll implement that process as well. The A is for accountability. We can talk about things, we can discuss things, we can say, yes, we're going to do that, but accountability is more than just having a conversation and saying, let's do this. It's really the follow-up. It's really clear delegation, first of all, to clarify expectations, the what, who, when, where, why, and how, and then following up to making sure that it happens, the check-in. And then the R is for the results. It really is about that we have measurable results, that we know what it is, where do we want to get to, because otherwise if we don't know what it is we're trying to achieve, how do we know when we get there? And actually have measurable daily action steps to help us get there. So that's CLEAR leadership in a nutshell.
So there is a system, a method to getting there. So it's not, obviously it's in a box, but it's a little more complex than just buying something at a store.
Yes.
One of the analogies I've heard, or quotes I've heard in business is that culture is like a sport. I mean, you can practice and get better at it. It's not something that, people think, oh, you're born with the great. You're not. You can actually get better at this by implementing a systematic process, and that's how you help practice, is kind of going through the C.L.E.A.R process.
Yes.
And getting clarity on who you are, what you need to be, and why you are what you are, so that when there is cohesion in the team, then it reflects with your patients, with everybody else you belong. This is a great conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.